Hello, David.
Oh, what's up? You guys
How's
are
it
here
going?
early.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Early bird catches the worm.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. How's everybody doing?
We're doing well.
Yeah.
Good. So who do I have? So this Stefano and who else?
James. I'm James.
Hey James, how's it going, man?
Very good. Very good.
Good. Good to see you guys. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to.
Yeah. Are we waiting for anybody else, or is it just the three of us?
No, just us.
Yeah, Niels wanted to do it, but he's had a lot of requests for interviews, and I think he's kind of burnt out, and I think he just had something else going on this morning. But yeah, I've been doing a handful, and I think I've been representing the film okay.
Good.
That's good.
We'll catch him at a later date.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can always reach out to him later when he's left.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk about
Yeah.
So first of all, thank you guys for going for seeing the movie.
It.
It's such a weird time, and it feels good to know that people are still making the effort to do the downloading, figure out the thing, figure out what festivals, like find a time, sit down in front of their computers, link it to the TV. Like, it makes me feel good that movies, people are still seeing movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
It's actually pretty easy. It's not, a lot of the festivals have done an incredible job of making it really easy for you to be able to, pick a time and a time slot, and it's actually pretty seamless.
I think it's pretty easy for people like us, but for people like my mom, she's like, I don't get it. Can you just send it to me? And I'm like, Mom, that's not how it works. She's like, yeah, but then what's a plug-in? And I'm like, where do I plug in? What? No, Mom, it's not. Plug-in is different. It's cool that we're up in Canada, and that you guys were able to check it out as part of the Whistler Festival. So that feels good.
Yeah, it was good. It was pretty easy. We saw the film there. It was great to watch. It was nice to get some festival content going, because a lot of festivals have just canceled, right, and not put out anything. So it was good to see at least that some of the bigger Canadian ones are going through.
Yeah, that was kind of my first. That's when I realized Corona or COVID was real. Whenever they canceled South by Southwest, it was March of this year, and I was like, wait a second, I'm not going to Austin for the what? Like, we're not doing anything? What? I had a film there this year, and I was just like, no, I mean, that's one of my, I don't know if you guys have made it to South by, but it's pretty remarkable. Yeah, it's a great festival.
Yeah, I've heard great things about it for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we usually attend TIFF every year here, and
nice.
It's just the same. It's the same thing. It's one of those things that just kind of hits you when you're the things that you're used to doing every year. Just kind of thrown out the window, and whether you are a love of sports or whatever it is, not being able to go to the game every weekend. I think that's what it most affected people, or made it a real thing.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. But thank you for sending us the information about the film. We absolutely loved it.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Great.
Cool.
Yeah. So we have a lot of questions for you.
Great. I have a lot of answers.
Yeah, great. So this was a passion project, from what we understand, from Niels, and he spent a lot of time trying to get this film made. And you can definitely see that. It was a passion project. How difficult is it to get attached to a role when you know that there has been so much behind the scenes and years of buildup and writing in order to get this film made?
I have a different perspective, because as an actor, like, I'll wake up on any given morning and I'll check my email and I'll have a couple auditions, and especially now, which was not too dissimilar then, a lot of casting directors are asking for self-tapes. And so actually I painted a wall in my place to make it easier to self-tape, because I got tired of dealing with backdrops. I got tired of dealing with lighting. Like, right now, the sun is like The sun is hitting the building next to me. It's like the best light for me is usually in the morning. So not to get too distracted, but yeah, I got an email, and it was a character breakdown. It was a script. There were sides for the audition. I read the sides. I was like, wait a second, like this one, I like this. I like the way this is written. I like the characters that are here. I felt like they were rich, and I read the script, and I was like, man, this is a good one. Not that I get sent, crappy material all the time, but I mean, that's kind of the nature of the business. It's unfortunately, by the sheer numbers, like I do get sent some projects that I'm not too crazy about. But this was one where I read the sides, and then I immediately had to read the script. And then as soon as I read the script, I thought, it's a funny story, I thought that I would better serve the project if I played the lead character. And that's something I oftentimes think as an actor. I'm like, but wait, I don't want to be the best friend. I want to be the guy. I don't want to be the neighbor. I want to be the guy. And so I originally auditioned. My original tape was for Chuck. And I made a tape for Chuck. And I believe my audition was like the scene at the gas station where I'm like, hey, how many 6-packs a day do you drink? And I did the audition as Chuck. And I'll kind of get back to the original question. I ended up reading for Chuck. He ended up telling me that he wanted me in the movie. I thought that meant playing Chuck, but then he wanted me to read opposite Bill Heck as a chemistry read, and Bill Heck was playing Chuck. And I'm like, wait, what am I doing here? Am I helping this other guy get my role? Because what he didn't tell me was, well, initially he said that the role of Wayne was already cast. And so I'm like, what am I doing? Like, am I going to end up being the postman? Am I end up being the new husband? What role am I? And he thought that he had told me that they had figured out a way to talk to the actor that they had previously cast. There were creative differences. But anyway, I got hired to play Wayne. Bill Heck got hired to play Chuck. And then that's, as we started to form a relationship with Niels, that's when we learned that the script had been, knocking around for like 10 years, that Niels actually got the script from one of his college buddies, Alexander Payne, who ended up being executive producer on the film. They have this like tight knit group of filmmakers and creatives from UCLA Film School. And they all kind of help each other out and shepherd projects for each other and pass along scripts to each other. And so by the time that I got it, there had been a handful of industry professionals who had seen this script and thought that it's an amazing script and it needed to get made. But unfortunately in Hollywood, it's not as easy as reading a script and saying, hey, let's make it. So they had to secure the financing. They had to secure the right cast. They had to secure all the producers, all the dates, all the locations. But Niels said when he came across that script, he said, I have to get this made. And it was maybe 8 or 9 years later that he actually did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hell of a process to get it done. Yeah. I guess it's the case for a lot of movies as well. That's very difficult to get them going, right? Like it might be a good script, but if it just doesn't see the right eyes, it'll never see the light of day. And then
it's so true. It's so true. And even if you get the script to the right person, there's no guarantee that person's going to read it. So true. Like it's just it's to get a film made. I mean, especially nowadays, but to get a film made, especially an independent film where you have to go secure outside financing, it's very, very difficult. But this one, it took time, but I think that time actually helped Niels get the actors that he wanted, because he had different actors attached at different points of time throughout the process. But yeah, he's happy that he ended up with who he ended up with, and so am I, obviously.
Yeah, no, that's good. So the script originally, when I guess you said he got it from like a friend, basically. Was it like original, or did he have was there some like real background to it? Do you know?
Oh yeah, well, Jason Naczek is the original writer, and both he and Niels are from Wisconsin and have really close ties to like small towns in and around Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. Niels grew up in Milwaukee. He worked in his father's furniture store, and he knew all these people. And so when he first got the script from Alexander Payne that Jason Naczek had written, they worked together to, you know, kind of fine tune the script to really tighten the story and to really focus in on the story that they wanted to tell. And I think when he originally got it, it was like a hardcore comedy. And by the time they kind of finished it, it was like, wait, this movie actually has heart, and this movie is about real people, and we don't need to trivialize or you know, make these people seem like caricatures. Like, there are people who actually are like this. And so yeah, by the time I got the script, you know, it is what, you know, you see on screen.
I think that was an excellent choice. You know, all of you guys did an incredible job to make the characters feel real, with, you know, still adding a little bit of humor here and there, and sarcasm where necessary. But you guys had an excellent balance of real life situations and humor together. So
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And that was kind of the thing whenever we went in. I mean, Niels was able to put it in the budget for us to go to Milwaukee to rehearse for a couple of weeks. So we really got to know each other really well. And that's when we found the richness of the characters. And that's where we found, like, you know, our connection and our chemistry, and how we could really, really define this script and not play any jokes. Like, you know, of course we had improv, as you do in a lot of movies when you have a director who wants to play and explore and stuff. But a lot of the stuff, I mean, with the exception of maybe, I don't know, 5 or 10 things in the script, just throwaways or whatever, was all scripted. And we just found the humor was in the relationships. The humor was in the situation. You know, if you put, you know, these type of people in these type of situations, there is going to be humor. But at the core of this story, and this guy struggling with alcoholism, there is heart, and there is struggle, and there is, you know, hopefully redemption.
I read that you guys, and you mentioned it, that you guys spent 2 weeks together rehearsing. Is that typical?
No.
You know, does that happen?
And it's especially not typical for an indie movie, because that costs money. I mean, if you're wanting to hire actors to come together and rehearse, like I mean, we have other projects going on. If you're wanting to book them for an extra 2 weeks, that costs money. And then you got to put them up, and then you got to feed them, and then you got to, you know, provide the rehearsal space. And you know, they flew us all out to Milwaukee, and they put us up, but it was so good for us, because at that point I had spent maybe an hour with Bill, because Bill made an audition tape as well, and he's out in New York. He sent an audition tape in, and Niels is like, we just got to meet this guy. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm up for it. And so he's like, I got to fly him out. And like, I think 2 or 3 days after he saw his audition tape, you know, he flew him from New York to LA. He read with me, and still I was like, is he taking my role? What's happening here? And then we had a couple beers, and then he went to bed, and he flew back to New York the next day. So it's kind of atypical to be able to spend, you know, time with your cast before you start shooting. A lot of times, you know, especially on indie movies, you show up the day before, and 6 o'clock the next morning, you're firing away. So it also provided like this level of comfort and this level of familiarity, and just like, you know, we're in this together. And we're gonna be able to do something pretty special.
Yeah. I've been on a few sets where I actually had no idea even what I was part of and what I was filming. It's just like, okay, you go there and do your thing, and then we'll cut it together.
Same. And sometimes and oftentimes you don't have, I mean, if you're not doing a scene with somebody else that day, then you may never meet them until the actual time that you're shooting. And you're like, wait, hi, I'm David. Nice to meet you. You know, all right, let's do the scene together like we're best friends
or whatever.
Yeah.
Find out a year later that you were in the same movie together.
Yeah, it's so true. People are like, oh, you did this movie with so-and-so. And I'm like, I did, but I never met them. Like, we never had scenes together. Like, I hear he's a nice guy. Like, I think I heard him in his trailer eating lunch one day, but I don't know who he is. I mean, I never spent any time with him.
That's like, we just posted something about the movie Heat, which was Al Pacino and Robert De Niro's first actual movie together. But then everybody's like, oh, what about The Godfather? They're like, no, they never filmed together because completely separate timelines. So they never even saw each other on set.
Yep.
So
exactly right.
It's funny that you say that. It just happened to be like recent. Awesome.
Yep.
Exactly.
Or like how Gwyneth Paltrow didn't even know she was in Spider-Man.
Really?
Because they had her film a scene, but they didn't tell her what the scene was going to be used for, and they ended up putting that scene in Spider-Man: Homecoming.
So
with Robert.
I didn't know that. So
yeah,
she thought she was doing something for Iron Man.
She was on an episode of Chef with Jon Favreau, cooking in the kitchen. And Jon Favreau mentioned you were in Spider-Man. She's like, no, I wasn't. He's like, yeah, you were.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to look that up. I didn't know that.
Funny. It's really funny.
Wow.
But that's an example. You know, they cut they have you film something and they don't even know what they're gonna do with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna put out a review for the movie in a couple of days. I have plenty of notes on it already. But one of the biggest things that, like you said, for us anyways, and watching it, you could tell like the character interactions did feel like real, and you could see where that, like, I guess 2 weeks together really did help. Because I watched a lot of movies recently where we feel like the characters, like, they're not reacting to each other in like a realistic state. It's like they're just saying it, and the other person's like not even responding like to it.
Yeah,
right? So it's
and it's good and bad because of where we are. I mean, editors. I mean, there's so many creative editors, and there are so many just phenomenal editors that make things look so real that aren't real. But that's the one thing that you can't really manufacture. You can't really manufacture a real relationship on camera, no matter how you try to edit it. Like, it's in the eyes, and it's in the breath, and it's in just the connection that you see when they're right there together, and that they trust each other. A lot of those you can try to act the best that you can, but unless you actually have had a conversation with this person, it's really, I mean, I can pull it off, but a lot of actors can't. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's so valuable. I mean, if I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say it's absolutely necessary to have rehearsals, but it certainly puts you on the same page. And it kind of helps a little bit to know that there's no surprises, because if you have an idea of how this character sees the world, and then all of a sudden you're across from your best friend, and the best friend sees the world in a completely different way, and like thinks your relationship is something other than what you thought it was, it can make for an awkward situation. But yeah, rehearsal was really, really important to me on this one.
Mm-hmm. Question for you: what do you think the movie means and represents overall as a whole?
Yeah, I think just you can't give up on people. You can't. I think it just represents humanity and struggle, and friendship, and family. Like, you know, I don't think that Wayne thinks that he has a problem. I don't think that he sees his life as an issue. I mean, he doesn't realize that he's causing struggle for his son's mom and his sister and his mom and dad back in the day, and his best friend. Like, he lives moment to moment and beer to beer, and he just doesn't he thinks that his life is okay. So I don't know. I think it's just a slice of life. I think there are so many people out there like Wayne that we don't necessarily give them a chance. You know, if we happen to see somebody stumbling drunk one day, we assume that, like, oh, that's who that person is always, and we, you know, we kind of steer clear. So I feel like it's an opportunity for people to get to know someone that they normally wouldn't get to know. As far as what the movie's about, yeah, I think it's just about struggle, and it's about humanity and friendship.
Yeah.
I mean, on a grander scale, yeah, maybe it's about redemption, or maybe it's about empathy.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just like, yeah. What's that?
Sorry, I was just saying, like, even from the other side of the spectrum, like, instead of from your character, from the other character's point of view, is like the sister, like forgiveness and stuff like that.
Right.
Other different aspects, but yeah, redemption for sure. Yeah, forgiveness.
Yeah, it's so funny because we would do group interviews with the cast, and and somebody asked Tanya, who plays Deidre, my ex-wife.
Yeah.
She was like, well, you know, I feel like for me, this movie is so much about forgiveness and about patience. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. See.
Patience. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I guess
true though.
your
Yeah, it is.
yeah, from your character's perspective,
it's different.
Yeah, it is, because like she did marry this guy.
Yeah.
Like she did have a child with this guy. Like they, at some point, they had love for each other, and they probably still do. But like, yeah, depending on the perspective you see it from, which I think is great in storytelling. Whenever when two people are able to read the same story or watch the same story and feel completely different about it. Like a lot of people would be like, God, I hate that guy. I hated that movie, that guy, you know. And some people are like, I hated Wayne too, but I loved the movie. And then some people are like, man, I love Wayne, you know. So it's about your perspective, and I think that's the sign of a really good movie.
Yeah, I have another one actually. It's for me, it was about accepting change.
Yeah.
And if you're not, it's either you a lot of the scenes in the movie were reminding me of situations where someone's like, back in my day, you know, we didn't do this. And, you know, at some point you got to accept that not everything is going to ever be the same.
That's true.
And with Wayne, his life was completely changing, but, you know, at some point he wasn't willing to accept it, and he didn't want his life to change.
I'm going to steal that. So next time somebody asks me that, I'm going to add it to it.
It's yours.
That's what actors do. We just steal from people who are better than us.
Yeah, why not, right? Yeah. But it's good with like his ex-wife, right? From the way that perspective works out. Like even the fact that she lets Wayne take the son for the weekend. I know it's the ruse of the camping, but still, like, she didn't have to say yes. She could have been like, no, that's it. We're leaving. Bye. Like, she still gave him that chance, and she did have, like, you know, like you said, second chances. Which is good. Yeah. Then one of the other things that I thought too, which is kind of more, I guess, towards like the end, and when I was like heartbroken that the tickets were the wrong day. Let's talk about that after. But what I got from that though, as much as it like devastated me, because I had so much hope for Wayne at that point, and then that happened, I was like, oh man, he's right back to his old self here, screwing up or whatever. But
that was foreshadowed though, and
yeah, it was. I had a feeling as soon as
as
soon as like Saturday, no Sunday, no Saturday, no Sunday.
Yeah. Just give me the best seat you got. Well, it was funny because I think in the original script, and I'm so glad that they changed it. I think that like the guy sold him fake tickets, and it was like, well, why would the guy sell him fake tickets if like they're old friends?
Yeah, they're buddies.
And I think in the script they weren't old friends. I think in the script it was just a guy in town, and then it was like, well, that doesn't really help. And I'm so glad they changed it.
Yeah, that was for sure.
But yeah, like you said, it was foreshadowed, but you don't necessarily realize it at the time. Yeah. You're just like, oh yeah, he's getting great seats.
Yeah.
He's getting great seats, and surely he's gonna look at the tickets and know which day he's going.
Yeah.
But like in his mind, he's like, I'm having the weekend with my son. Everything's gonna be awesome. I got exactly what I wanted. Like, we're getting a hotel at the nicest hotel in town. Yeah. Oh, you mean I got to call ahead? In his world, he doesn't know that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Day by day, like, no,
yeah.
Thinking before.
And you know what? Unfortunately, that's the world we live in nowadays, where you gotta be 2 steps ahead of every situation all the time.
Yeah.
And if you live life just kind of casually by the moment, you're gonna have situations like that bite you in the ass in the end.
Yep. You have to adapt. You have to learn to adapt, and that's something that's very, very hard for Wayne.
Yeah.
To adapt and change, like you said.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, that last piece there where like they couldn't even go to the game, but then it also gives you a little bit of like, life isn't about like the fancy things. Like, you don't have to take your kid to the best ball game in the fancy hotel or whatever for him to like, you know, love you or just have a great relationship, right? It's like, and it was that scene that kind of stuck with me. It was where he was just like standing with like Alicia, and then the kids are just like on the grass, like listening to the game or whatever, and you could just see like it didn't matter, like they're still like happy.
And as an adult, like now that I'm older, and I realize like all the work and all the effort, I mean, even coming up on Christmas, like the things that my parents did to make things special for us, But really, at the end of the day, we just liked going to grandma's house and being with cousins. You know, at the end of the day, we liked spreading pallets on the floor and staying up all night trying to see Santa Claus as kids. Like we, you know, our parents and you know, similar to Wayne, like you try so hard to be a good parent. And I don't think he ever thought that he was a bad parent. I think that he was doing the best that he could. And he was always, you know, making the popcorn or playing the little game where he walks down the stairs or watching the game on TV. Like there was all, like, in his mind, he's like, I'm doing all this stuff to be the best dad that I know how. And he doesn't even know that his son knows that he's an alcoholic. Yeah. So when his son hits him with that on the dock, he's like, because you're an alcoholic, he's like, what? Yeah. How do you, first of all, how do you even know that word? And second of all, like, how do you know that that's what I am? Like, there's so many like emotions and thoughts going through his head when his kid kind of calls him out for that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you know, we try so hard as parents, and at the end of the day, it's just about, you know, spending time with the people that you love.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to mention something, and I think it's just, I'm just saying it just because you deserve to hear it. I connected with the movie on a little bit of a different level, only because my father passed away about 1.5 years ago. So to me, it, like, you blew me away with, and you actually put me in tears a few times, and I just want to be honest with you about that, because you just did a fantastic job with the role.
Man, Stefano, I mean, that thing, I'm sorry. Yeah, I lost my dad 7.5 years ago, and yeah, it's gonna hurt for a while, and it's cool to be reminded of that, you know. Yeah. And I'm that means a lot to me. Thank you. I'm glad that I was able for a minute to help you think fondly of your relationship with your dad. And as I do, and probably not enough, I try not to think about it so I don't get sad. Mm-hmm. But when I do actually let myself sit and think about it, it's nice. It hurts, but it's nice. Thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate that.
Of course. It just, you know, the layout of the film, as it, you know, Wayne's last weekend with his son, trying to make it the best weekend ever, definitely hit. And I messaged James after, like, I wasn't ready for this.
True. I watched it after him. I was like, what?
You watched it after me.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing too. Even in the description of the film, I mean, I don't know what description you guys read, but I think in a couple of descriptions that are out there, is like perpetual teenager Wayne is like trying to chill his party in order to like hang out with his kid. And it surprises you. Like my mom, it's hilarious. My mom. So I showed an early cut of the film, not an early cut. It was actually one of the final cuts, because we had a cut that was like 2 hours and 30 minutes, and it was like trim. So anyway, I showed her one of the final cuts, and she watched it, and she came out and she was like, I'm so mad at you. And I'm like, what? And she's like, babe, you can't do that. And I'm like, what? And she was like, I thought this movie was supposed to be funny. I thought you said that this movie. I was like, Mom, I never said this movie was funny. And she was like, no, because she came up to visit me in Milwaukee, and she was actually there the day we shot the gas station scene. And I'm like, Chuck, you're such an idiot. Yeah, my beer, 4.25, whatever. And we're having fun, and it was like funny. And so my mom in her mind thought that she was gonna be watching a comedy, and she was legitimately upset with me. I was like, this wasn't funny. But ironically, like, the movie has won best comedy at a couple different festivals. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll take it.
It kind of reminded me of when in the movie Click, when you know, it's a comedy and then it just went sour at the end. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Come on, Sandler. Yeah.
I actually had this very bad feeling in my chest that something even worse was gonna happen after the tickets, when you were telling the kids to stay in the corner. I'm like, no, something else is gonna happen now. I'm not ready. I can't handle this.
Yeah. Well, that was, I mean, Wayne hadn't been to the big city much either. And like, for all that he knows is, like, you know, the big city is full of people who are going to grab little kids. You know, when you get into a big space, like, you have to, I mean, he doesn't know. It's not the 70s anymore where kids just get kidnapped. Like, you know, and his son has never been. I mean, I think he calls the buildings like Square Mountains or something, or something like, I think it's Square Mountains, because like his kid has never seen a building. You know, his kid has never seen an office building that's higher than, say, 4 stories. So yeah, it was really important to like stress to them, hey, do not let him out of your sight. Like this is a big thing, and we need to make sure that we're safe here.
Yeah, even taking him to the city, right? It indirectly warmed the kid up a little bit to the city, because they're moving, right? They're moving obviously to
Exactly
whatever it was, and so it kind of going there almost like gave him a little intro to like the city's not so bad really, and like spending time with like the sister and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like he never intended to spend time with his sister, but he did intend to have the conversation. That was the promise that he made to Deidre. He's like, okay, I'll tell him. I don't want to tell him. I don't think I should tell him, but I'll tell him. And I think there's probably 2 or 3 different times throughout that trip that he does actually try to tell him, but it just, the timing's not right.
There's one little small little piece of a little detail that I loved as an addition. At the first part of the movie, to represent the small town, you guys knew everyone's names.
Yeah.
From the person who's serving you coffee to the lawyer.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. It's and it was funny. We got a great piece of production value when we first pulled up into the bowling alley. There was this big semi truck that just pulled right when we crossed the street, like pulled through, and I gave him a little wave, and I gave him I don't know if it's in the movie or not, but you hear this, and it's like, oh, awesome. Because again, it just shows even like the truck driver, like the local truck driver who happens to come to this small town, like you guys know each other. That was not planned at all.
We wanted to ask you what your current projects right now, some other stuff you're working on. You have The Wilds just released. On Amazon Prime.
Yeah, and it's doing really well. I think I mean, my guess is that we'll probably start production again, maybe March or April, if we get a second season. I think we're going to get a second season. I'm pretty confident just because of the response. People are really liking the show. I got another film that's kind of making the festival route right now called Monuments. I think right now it's at the Maui Film Festival. And that's a film about a guy who is mourning the loss of his wife, and he makes a road trip to scatter her ashes to where he thinks, would mean the most to her. And he kind of has a run-in with the family because they want something different. It kind of turns into this fun like road trip caper. And I'm recurring on the show called The Unicorn, which is on CBS right now. And I got another movie. I got another movie that's going to be doing the festival thing this next year called The Big Bend. We just finished a cut of that about a month ago, and we're doing submissions. So we'll see what places will have us, and hopefully at some point we're able to go to some of these festivals. I mean, that's what's so fun for me. I mean, my very first film played at Sundance back in 2004, and I went to that, and it won Sundance. We made this movie for $7,000 in Texas, and it won Sundance, and it's like, oh my gosh. So like, I have very fond memories of film festivals, and I can't wait to actually start doing those in person again.
You mean Primer, right?
Yeah. Have you seen it?
Of course we've
Stefano reviewed it for our page.
I reviewed it. I reviewed it for First Reviews.
Is that how I came? Is that how I found?
That's how,
Okay. Oh, awesome. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. I watched Primer the first time. I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago. So I just stumbled upon it because I like to do some, dumb Google searches like best low budget or best indie sci-fi movies, because I like to just put on something random, and I fell upon Primer, and I watched it, and I didn't know anything about the movie. I just like to say, you know what, I want to click on that movie poster, and I'll find it online somewhere, and I'll try to watch it, and I absolutely loved it.
Awesome!
I was scratching my head. Like
I have the poster. Hey, where is it? Right there.
There it is.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah. I actually have a question about Primer, just because I've never asked you before. And I've done a lot of research on the movie, especially like on Reddit, about what people think about the movie and their interpretation of the film. I don't know if you've ever seen it, and you probably will appreciate it if you haven't, but some people have gone into detail to try to make a timeline
Good
and
luck.
to try to guess how many different types of versions of you guys there are.
Uh-huh.
And it's an endless list.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, if you have a time machine, you can, and if you, every time that you go back in time, like essentially you're yourself, you're going back in time and you're seeing yourself before you actually do it. So I think in the movie, geez, it's been a long time. I think in the movie you see 3 Aarons and 2 Abes. 3. Wait.
It's not that many. It's not as many as Reddit and people who've created like flowcharts to try to figure it out. But you refer to yourselves as other Abes.
Yeah, Abe 1, Abe 2. It may be the other way around. Maybe 3 Abes and 2 Aarons. No, because you see the Aaron at the end. You see Aaron at the end whenever he's building a bigger one. So
Yeah.
maybe 3 and 3. Oh man, I haven't seen the movie in forever. But yeah, there's not 50. There could be. I mean, essentially there could be, but really it's only and not to get off topic, but there's only a certain amount of time, because Abe has in his mind that, oh, if this thing goes awry, I have the fail safe. I can go back to the fail safe. I can take everything apart and everything's going to be okay. But the problem is Aaron found out that I had 2 rooms at the storage unit. So Aaron found out that there was a fail safe. And so Aaron used the fail safe before Abe even knew that he did. So that's where things get a little hairy.
Yeah. And I think that's where people are interpreting in a different way, that there are actually more versions than the movie claims to have.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So it makes people watch it more. I love it. I mean, eventually I'll get paid for that movie. That movie was a non-union movie, and it was my first time to act. And it was Shane's, obviously. It was all of our first time to do everything. Shane's first time to direct, my first time to produce. It was just, we thought that we were making something pretty cool, but we had no idea that obviously it was going to even get into Sundance, much less win it, and then become like this cult like phenomenon, which is really pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Yeah. You just think you're making this like, oh, whatever movie, and then take some awards and all this acclaim and stuff like that. It's pretty awesome. I can imagine, especially being your first role, your first major.
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't move out to LA. We shot that in 2001. We shot that in the summer of 2001. It didn't come out until 2005 because we were editing it on his home computer on Adobe Premiere. And so we would only be able to edit like 2 or 3 minutes at a time and then put it together, edit 2 or 3 minutes, put it together too. So it literally took years to edit that movie. Yeah. So it's cool that, it came out and that people are getting to see it still. And people are still seeing it. I mean, it still is very, it's time. I mean, with the exception of like the cell phone, you're like, whoa, what is that thing? Like I have this big cell phone. With the exception of that, like everything is still kind of timeless. It kind of seems like that movie could come out today and still be, a good movie.
Yeah. Other than just the technology. The cell phones that were used at the time.
Yeah.
Some of the flip phones. That's about it.
Yeah. Those big bricks in your area.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's one of the things. That's Oh yeah, the full antenna.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
Right.
Our fans really appreciate, anyone who follows our page really appreciates when we share a movie that is not as widely known as all the blockbusters that just kind of go to the theaters, and that's kind of all they're showing now in theaters. So we had a lot of people message us when we put out the review for Primer saying I didn't know about this movie, I watched it, I loved it.
Oh, cool.
And we do that with a lot of other indies as well.
Yeah, I think they just released, or they just announced that there's going to be a Blu-ray release with Primer and Upstream Color, Shane's second movie, and there's going to be like full DVD commentary and all that stuff. So I think
Oh, that's
that's going to
cool.
be coming out pretty soon too.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
With small town Wisconsin, are there plans for any upcoming festivals that we can let people know about?
I don't know. That's something that Niels knows. I mean, we definitely are gonna continue our festival run into next year, and kind of hit the festivals I think we had just missed we just missed like the Sundance deadline this year, and we obviously submitted for Sundance next year, but it's not really a Sundance movie. But yeah, there are still some festivals, both Monuments and Small Town Wisconsin, and now the Big Bend. Shoot, there's a possibility that I may have 3 films in a festival, which is awesome.
That's good.
They're all very different. They're all very, very different, which is really cool. But yeah, I mean, the idea, as you guys probably know, like the idea of an independent film, like you want to get as many eyeballs as you can, and kind of show that it has an audience. So when a distributor picks it up, it kind of has a built-in audience, and that they're able to, put it out into, and as they start to distribute it wider and wider, you hopefully the trend is still there, that people are still interested in this movie and they like the movie, and it can build a bigger audience. But yeah, I mean, the idea is to keep pushing, keep trying to get into these really cool festivals, and building an audience, and hopefully getting wider distribution. But yeah, sometime next year you'll be able to pull up this movie on Prime or Netflix or Hulu or whatever, and be able to watch it. But right now we're the idea is to kind of take it to the festival route.
Mm-hmm. I saw that you went to university for business. You didn't study acting.
I did. Yeah, I went to business school, and I worked for a software company, and I got laid off like 5 months after I started, and that's when I shot Primer. And I was like, man, this is so much more fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, as you know, it took almost 3 years for Primer to come out. So I went back to work, and I was working for AT&T Wireless, and setting up points of distribution throughout Dallas and the whole Southwest. And I was making a good living doing that. And then Primer got into Sundance, and I was like, do I want to have money, or do I want to have happiness? And at what point am I going to get both?
Yeah.
And it took me probably 12, 13 years out here in LA, but I finally am not stressing about rent. I'm not stressing about, oh, you know what? I should probably turn the air conditioner off because I don't know, I can't have a $200 electric bill. But yeah, it's just been in the last couple of years where I'm like, cool, I'm here.
Yeah, a lot of people don't see it. They always just think everybody's an overnight success, but it takes years of hard work.
I shot Primer 20 years ago.
Yeah, 20 years ago, basically. Yeah.
That's half my lifetime.
Crazy. It's so wild.
Yeah.
But I guess in terms of just like acting, going further on that, what's like, say for like Small Town Wisconsin or any other roles, like what's your, I guess, method for preparing for the role, or like studying up, or?
Yeah, story. I mean, you have to really, really immerse yourself. Immerse.
Yeah,
I don't know. Anyway, you have to really allow the story to envelop you. You have to put yourself in the story, live in that story, and know at any given point what this character will do in any given situation. I mean, the cool thing about a film is, the 2-hour story that you're telling, and as long as you know how this person thinks, how this person sees the world, how this person would interact with each given person on any given day.
Yep.
I think you'll be in a sweet spot. I still, as an actor, I want to do good work, and I want to take risks, but I don't really think you're taking risks if you're in the story. I mean, there may be something that looks weird, or there may be something that may not work tonally, but that's where you have your director there and tell you, you know what, that's, it's just not working for this. Mm-hmm. And that's great. So I just think you have to fall in love with the story, and you have to be 100% into telling that story. And sometimes that means collaborating with your director and with your writer and producers and the other actors to kind of figure out, okay, which idea wins, and get rid of the ego.
Yeah.
because I'm no longer performing this thing and making actor choices. I'm a guy who sees the world through a different set of eyes. So yeah, that's and I've been fortunate to teach, and it's all about just point of view, allowing yourself to be present,
Mhm.
allowing yourself to listen and respond, and that takes a lot of work.
You find you get learning from the teaching? I'm sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I became a much better actor once I started teaching,
Yeah.
because I knew that I had something, and I knew that I was good at something, but I didn't know what that thing was.
Right.
And then once I started teaching it, I was able to kind of put a finger on it. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm really good at being in the moment, but
Mhm.
I'm not so great at knowing what would happen if the moment changed, or I'm not so great at knowing what would happen if if a character came at you a different way than you thought that they would be coming at you. So I had to learn to study. Like,
Mhm.
I think with Primer, that film, I mean, there was so much dialogue, but I got to know the writer director really well. I mean, so much so that we were staying in his place for 10, 11 hours a day and sleeping on his couch. And sometimes he would come to my place, or we would be building the props. And
Mhm.
you really kind of find the character by living that life. And that's what I did. But I didn't know that once I started teaching. I was like, oh, well, I was doing research. I just didn't know at the time that it was research,
Yeah.
and even like movie talk, I was doing pre-production without knowing that that was pre-production. Like, so
Yeah.
as an actor, you got to allow yourself to do all the work, and allow yourself to be fully present in any given situation.
And when you're teaching something to somebody and you're constant every day, you're saying the same thing, you're reinforcing it in your own mind as well.
Yeah.
100%.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And oftentimes I learned that, oh, I'm teaching what I need to learn.
Yeah.
I'm teaching myself stuff too. So yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where you don't necessarily even realize it
Yeah.
until you're in an audition, and you're like, oh wait, I'm not present right here, or I just did something weird. And there was, I remember I was teaching my students, they were doing a scene, and something would just be weird, and I would have to stop, and I'd be like, what just happened there? It was something that was weird. And they're like, I don't know, I missed my line. I was like, well, I didn't even know that you missed your line, but I knew that something was weird. And because it felt weird. And if it felt weird, it looks weird.
Yeah.
And so I remembered in an audition that I had done something and it felt weird. And I was like, oh shoot, if it feels weird, it looks weird. So I had to tell the producers, I was like, guys, that felt weird. So I know it probably looked weird for you guys. So let's do that again. But
good.
like the early David would have blown through it and hoped that they didn't see it.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's smart. I guess seeing all the students too, everybody probably has such different like styles and just the way they the way they approach acting. So
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And like me not coming from an acting background, I'm able to just kind of get in there. I'm
Yeah.
not able to label what it is that people are doing, but I'm able to see that it's not working, and we figure out why. And then, we find something that we learn, and we just kind of grow from it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good to see. Good, like to see the learning side for sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It's
cool
hard.
supporting like the community, right? Supporting the acting community by bringing up
Well, I
talent.
mean, I would drive myself crazy. I would drive myself nuts if I didn't have that other thing. Because I'd be like, when's my next audition? When's my next audition? What am I gonna do? Well, it gets lonely here. But yeah, I'm fortunate to have students that I can, and obviously the more stuff that I do, the more attractive it is to students, and so the more students want to work with me. So yeah, it kind of just feeds itself.
What are your favorite kind of movies, like genre or types?
I don't have any.
No?
Because again, I for the most of my upbringing, I didn't have a TV, and so like I didn't fall in love with movies and TV shows. I was an athlete, and so like I was outside working on free throws, or I was outside working on my drop back motion and my release. So I didn't really fall in love with movies until I made Primer. And it was like, whoa, like we have to work 5 weeks to make a movie that's only 77 minutes long. Like what? I didn't know conceptually how movies were even made. And I didn't move to LA till I was almost 30 years old. So I'm learning what I like. I mean, I know, I mean, I like action movies, but I think I also like that because like it was a treat, once a month or every month or two that we got to go to the movies. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So yeah, I'm still developing my palette. I think I like human stories. I don't think I like fantasy movies. I don't like movies where there's like no rules or like, wait, what? I don't understand why that person was able to do that. I tried to watch like, I have a poster that my son, I have a 15-year-old son, and I have a poster of like 100 movies that you need to see. And I realized that I don't really like Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
Yeah, well, just because like I don't know. I don't know what's happening here. I watched Blade Runner and I'm like, I understand the significance of these movies, but like I'm not into this. Like I'm able to kind of tell you what I don't like more than what I do like. I love Shawshank Redemption. That's one of my favorite movies. But then again, I also love Dumb and Dumber. Like that's one of my
favorite I know.
So I'm kind of all over the map.
Yeah, I'm similar too. Yeah, I think a lot of people who just like movies, they have just different. They just love like a lot of different things, right? So
yeah. I watched everything that Philip Seymour Hoffman ever did.
He was great.
I'm a big fan of what he did, and I like everything that I guess I'm just more gravitated towards actors.
Like Daniel.
Yeah, you like character development and storyline.
What's that?
You like the character development, the storyline. You want to connect with the character.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Any favorite actors or favorite directors?
I like all the Bourne movies.
Bourne's are good.
Fincher. Yeah, I mean Fincher. I've watched all Fincher's movies. I really like what he does. I like I like his style a lot. It's cool, but it's also kind of artsy, and it's also like you're also able to really try to figure out these characters that he's portraying. I like Paul Thomas Anderson. I like the stuff that he does. I mean, I'm not the actor. I mean, my son knows more about directors than I do, and he's 15. But I've also opened up this world to him that I didn't have access to.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have access to all these movies and all the like I didn't know the difference in directors. I was just like, what I don't get it. But yeah, I think I just if something's on, I'll watch it. And if I don't like it, I'll turn it off. And if I do like it, I'll keep on. But I haven't seen any movie. Have you guys seen any movies this year? I mean, you guys probably have. You probably have to see
a couple.
Yeah, we watch a lot of the movies that have come out this year were ones that were gonna go straight to digital release, or we're already planned to go to Netflix or Hulu or whatever Amazon. So those ones were still coming out regardless of whether they were going to, the pandemic or whatnot. Right. But in terms of movies that went to theaters, like 80% of the movies that were going to go to the theaters did not go.
Yeah.
I watched a few movies before the pandemic. And then the only movie I have watched in theaters since the pandemic was Tenet.
Same. Yeah. Same.
I haven't seen it yet.
That's it.
That was definitely worth the theater. You had to be in a theater, I think, to watch that one.
Yeah. Right.
They opened up.
Have you seen Hillbilly Elegy yet? There's comparisons. There's comparisons to our film, and I was like, oh, I hadn't even seen that movie yet. But evidently, like, there's similarities between ours and that.
I know everything's just digital now. I guess it's so much easier now to watch so many things, right? Like all the different platforms, whatever, Amazon Prime or Netflix or whatever else, right? So it's
a little confusing though, because there's so many different platforms. And you don't even know. Like we promote movies. We promote movies on our page every weekend of new content that's coming out on different platforms, and it actually is very confusing to even know what is coming out.
Yeah, and also you don't know how long it's going to be on that platform. It's like, wait, it's not there anymore.
And then some countries because we have people in different countries, right? So some people have it on Amazon Prime, some people don't. Some people don't have it at all, and it's like, oh well, sorry, it's not on Amazon.
Yeah, there's location rights as well.
Yeah.
So sometimes we promote a movie that's going to be dropping on Amazon Prime this week, but it's only North America and not
right.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot more confusing than just what's in theaters this weekend.
Sure. Come on, let's get back to normal. Let's get back to normal. It's coming, guys. It's coming.
The vaccine's here. We're rocking now. So soon, I guess. A few months, and we'll be a lot better.
We'll
be at festivals before you know it.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much. This has been great, and I look forward to seeing what you guys write about it, and I look forward to other movies that you guys recommend. I really appreciate it, and this time has been good for me. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. And thanks for joining us. We appreciate
Absolutely.
it. Great to
Absolutely.
film in your process. It's always nice to hear.
Absolutely. All right. I'll probably reach back out whenever I got something else going on.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun.
Definitely.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you very much, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks.
Take care.
Yeah.
All right.
See you later.
All right. Bye-bye.